Okay, hello again. So today we're doing 7.2, which is angle relationships. All right, so the first one we're going to talk about is vertical angles. That's two angles that are across or opposite of each other when two lines intersect. These angles are congruent, which means their measures are the same. So examples of that are angle 1 is equal sign with the wavy line on top. Forgot to write the 1. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. Angle, that's this one and this one. And then angle 2 is congruent to angle 4. So that's boxing 2 and 4, circled 1 and 3. Probably should use different colors, but I'm learning. Okay, so that means that the measure of angle 1 is equal to the measure of angle 3. The measure of angle 2 is equal to the measure of angle 4. All righty, talking about the next set of angles. Okay, these are called adjacent angles. These are two angles that share a common vertex and side. They are next to each other. They're right next door to one another. So 5 and 6 are adjacent angles. So we would say angle 5 plus angle 6 is equal to the measure of angle ABC. Equal to the measure of angle ABC, or you could say CBA. I can't say just angle B because there's two angles that share that vertex. So we can't just name it by just the vertex here. That's what we talked about in the last video. All right, the next set, these are complementary angles. These you've probably talked about before. Complementary, I think complementary means you're doing the right thing, which means the sum, two angles, which the sum of their measures is 90 degrees. Complement, you're right. So therefore it's a 90-degree angle. So what we'd say here is the measure of angle 7 plus the measure of angle 8 equals 90 degrees. And the clue also is it makes that little box that we talked about. All right, next set of angles. Supplementary angles, okay? Supplementary makes the straight line are any two angles in which the sum of their measures is 180 degrees. And those two angles do not have to be adjacent in order to do that. That's the same for complementary, okay? It's just if they were put together, it would make a straight line. Okay, so we would have that measure of angle 9 plus the measure of angle 10 equals 180 degrees. So now let's put this information to work. So it says to classify each pair of angles using all the names that apply. Okay, so when I'm looking at this one, I can see, oh, it's got the right angle symbol and it shares the same side and vertex. So this one is going to be adjacent and complementary. Not all of them are going to have two names. So if I jump down to number 6, these are two separate angles. They are completely away from one another. Well, in order for me to know what this might equal so that I can say, oh, is this supplementary or is this complementary or is it none of the above? I have to add these two together. So I'm going to do 23 plus 67, and that's going to equal 90 degrees. Since it equals 90 degrees, this is complementary. And yes, you do have to show your work of getting that number to prove that it is complementary. All right, on the back. Get into some more application scenarios with these angles. Okay, for this section, we're going to use the diagram to the left, and we're going to classify each angle pair using all the names possible. Okay, so we're going to talk about number 8. So I'm looking at angle 3 and angle 4. So I'm looking here and here. Well, one thing that I notice is that they share the vertex and this side. So I know right off they are adjacent. Next, I'm going to look at, and I'm going to see that together, both of them make a straight angle, which equals 180 degrees. So this is supplementary because it makes this straight angle. And you see how in my work, I'm showing that. All right, let's look at another example. Okay, number 10. Okay, so we're looking at 3 again, but we're looking at 3 and 5. So that's this angle and this angle. Well, if I look at it, they share this vertex and they are opposite of one another. They're across from one another because they share this line and they share this line here. Oh, I went out of the picture. They share this line and they share this line. This is where having different colors can be helpful. Okay, so these are vertical angles. All right, moving right along. Okay, looking at number 16, we have to find each missing angle. So I've got to find all of them. Okay, so when I look at things first off, first thing I notice is these two angles are vertical angles. So I know right off that the measure of angle Y equals 54 degrees because vertical angles are congruent. Already found one. Let's go on to the next one. All right, so next I can either find X or I can find Z. Well, if I'm looking at it, 54 and X, if I go all the way around, that makes a straight angle. That equals 180 degrees. So I can do 54 plus X equals 180 degrees. And yes, you set it up as an equation, not just do 180 minus 54. You have to write the equation. Might as well set yourself up for success when you get into geometry. I know that's a couple of years away, but you might as well learn how to do it right the first time. So that way you don't have to go back and do it and learn it right then. So now we solve. So I'm going to subtract 54 from both sides, and I'm going to get that X equals 126. So the measure of angle X equals 126 degrees. Okay, last one. Well, now that I know that X equals 126, what do I notice about these two angles? That's another set of vertical angles. So that means Z is going to equal 126. So I can go right away and just say the measure of angle Z equals 126 degrees because they are vertical angles. All right, next example. Going down to number 20, and I picked 20 because there's so many different scenarios going on. Okay, so when I look at this, first thing I'm gonna always look for is to see, are there any setups of vertical angles? Well, one thing that I see, if I'm correct, is this line and this line together, when they cross, they form vertical angles right here. So I can automatically start with saying that the measure of angle Y equals 34 degrees. And sometimes it's nice to be able to write the numbers inside the graph, and it's helpful as well. So we found one angle. All right. Other information that I can see right away is that these two angles are complementary. So I know that I can do 34 plus W equals 90, and I can solve. So I can subtract 34, subtract 34, and I get that W, the measure of angle W, equals 56 degrees. Okay, so I'm gonna write that here, 56. All right, but there's not a vertical angle that goes with that. It's so we're gonna keep going. Okay. All right. Oh, but what I do see here is I can see, oh, from here to here is 180 degrees. So I can do Z plus 34 equals 180. And I can solve for Z, subtract 34 from each side. And we end up with the measure of angle Z equals subtract 34, and that's going to give me becomes 10, so that's 6, 4, yep, 176 degrees. Okay, we've got one left to find here. And oh, if this side is a right angle, that means this side over here is going to be a right angle. So I know right off that the measure of angle X equals 90 degrees. Some of them require calculations, some of them do not. All right, here we go. Last question, word problems, okay? It's telling me that angle G and angle H are supplementary angles. That means it equals 180 degrees. And that the measure of angle H is 51 degrees. Find the measure of angle G. Okay, so I'm going to take 51 and I'm going to plug it in for H. So I'm going to have X plus 51 equals 180. Now we solve. So I'm going to subtract 51 from both sides. And we end up with X equals 129. So therefore, the measure of angle G equals 129 degrees. Okay, your assignment is to finish the odds and the evens or extra credit. If you have questions, please stop, pause, rewind, or come ask me. Have a great day. Thank you.